Forum. My name is John Guglielmino. I'm your host. This evening I'm going to be talking with the council people from the 6th Ward. With me this evening is Dwayne Thomas and Freddie Visconti on the 5th Ward. So I welcome you to the show. Once again, you've been here both in the past, and we've had some interesting conversations. I hope we have some more interesting conversations. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and you know, how you got up to the position of councilman from the 5th Ward.
All right. Like John just mentioned, my name is Dwayne Perkins.
Perkins, right.
City councilman in the 5th Ward. Born and raised here in Danbury. Went through the public school system. Way back, went to a school called Naugatuck Valley, or I'm sorry, Mattituck Community College, which has a name change now of Naugatuck Community College, where I work. Educated at Northeastern University, and I got my master's degree from the University of Bridgeport.
Okay. And how did you get in politics?
There was an opportunity that gave rise to itself back when a sitting councilman decided that he no longer wanted to hold his council seat. So he informed me, and I put my campaign together, ran for the seat, and won. Okay. I've been on the council ever since.
Okay, and that was what year?
2005.
Okay, very good.
Fred Visconti. I'm born and raised here in Danbury, and went through St. Peter's School, Danbury High School, graduated from Danbury High, and I retired from the Danbury Fire Department after 30 years. Worked in New Fairfield for a few years and Reading for a few years, and presently I spent some time working for Union Savings Bank at the Galleria on Main Street. As far as getting into politics goes, I was asked in 2003 if I would fill a vacancy for a seat in the 5th Ward. After knocking my head against the wall a few times, I said I agreed to do that, and I ran for re-election that year, and I've been there ever since. So about 8 years now, and looking forward to serving a few more. My dad was on the council for about 20 years. So
right. Yeah, so it runs in the veins.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're both doing a good job. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we've got some things that we were talking about before we got on here, and there's been a number of controversial things, and I guess the start with the first item, and that is we're talking about the Army Reserve Center, and where are we with that? I used to get the paper religiously. Now I go on the internet, so I am not 100% sure as where that is at this point in time, personally. I'm sure there's some people out there who may not be sure about it or haven't heard a lot about it.
I don't know if you want to give them some of the background?
Yeah. What happened with the Reserve Center up on Worcester Heights was there's about 330 acres of land there owned by a family from in Danbury. They started out with working with the Army to sell some of the land. Area of traffic and noise, and they were under the assumption that possibly there was going to be helicopters landing every day and troop movement every day, which turned out to be really a false rumor. But as far as where we stand today is they have reached an agreement. The family has reached an agreement with the Army to build a scaled down version across the street from where the actual land that they were looking at. So right now, that's where we stand. They eliminated the need for the trucks that were going to be there and the gas tank that was going to be located there. And it is a scaled-down version. We've seen pictures of it. It looks very nice.
But it's just like a warehouse type of thing?
I want to say a warehouse. I think it's going to be structured after buildings that you see perhaps like a Commerce Park and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So that'll be there. And I think might be some parking across the street. I'm not quite sure about that yet, but the actual building will be not where the land is that the people were concerned about having to lose that property. It'll be across the street. So for now, the fields and the ponds, whatever may be up there, have been pretty well saved. What happens in the future, we don't know, because again, it was hard for the city because we don't own the property. The property was privately owned. So Dwayne and I worked along with our constituents from the 6th Ward, and we worked along with the mayor and his people and folks up there to, at least for now, save the major portion of that property so that it won't be worked over.
Because they were going to have more of a center where they actually did some training, where here it's more of a it's more of a place where they go drop their vehicles off and then they go on maneuvers.
That's basically all it is. It's a training center on weekends. It'll be used to its fullest extent at least three weekends a month.
Yeah.
And the other flip of the coin too is that's going to bring some money into the city because they're going to stay in hotels overnight. They're going to eat in the restaurants. They may go to the mall and spend some money. So it wasn't all a bad idea.
Yeah.
I think where the people were coming from, and I certainly agree with them, was the fear of the traffic and the large trucks and everything. That's all been really taken care of. So right now, that's where we stand. Hopefully, there won't be any changes, and we'll get this thing going.
Okay.
I guess it was, I mean, the numbers that I've heard was a $45 million project that's been scaled down, like Fred said. That concern that folks had about the maintenance facility, that's pretty much gone. I guess they reduced it by 500 or so vehicles, none of the diesel tanks, no machines idling, no air hammers, none of that. And also, during the construction, there's a possibility that local contractors can get in on part of the,
the work that needs to get done.
That needs to get done.
Yeah.
So that's
they're not out of town people.
No.
A lot of them will be for local.
The Army in the past have always tried to use local contractors, local help as much as they possibly can. That goes over into an overflow when the building's actually being used. They will use local people for maintenance, landscaping, stuff like that. So it is a good deal in the long run.
We've been hearing terms about college campus, so we kind of like the sound of that also.
Yeah, so they'll have like classrooms and that sort
a lot
of thing.
of actual hands-on.
That's basically what it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like it's more in keeping with what people want.
Yeah, it's not going to be helicopters taking off and landing all hours of the day and night, and big trucks coming and going.
No live ammunition.
See, they're already used to the airport. Or I should say, they never get used to the airport with the constant landings, and now you have helicopters.
That's a whole different program.
And now we're out to another octane, or whatever the word is, octave.
That's a whole different thing.
So anyway, all right, the next thing we were talking about a little bit before is the Eureka water tank.
The water tank.
Maybe we get a little background before we get into it, because I'm not even 100% sure about what we're talking about there. I think I know what it is, but go ahead.
I guess a while back, some funding was secured in order to build a water tank on that Eureka property,
which is located where?
It's kind of between parts of Bethel and Danbury, heading out the Long Ridge Road area.
Okay.
And the proposal that the Bethel people put forward wanted to plop that thing right down on a portion of Long Ridge Road.
I remember it now. Yeah, okay.
They revised some of the plans. The new revised plan was to come back and just build a berm around the whole thing, thinking that would make things better and make things go away. But it's the same tank, but just a berm of soil around it.
Yeah, so it's hidden. Yeah.
So we rallied up rallied up our local residents, and we spoke out against it for a lot of obvious reasons. I mean, that's a beautiful scenic road. I mean,
it's a scenic road up in that area, and this tank would have sat no more than 100 feet off the road. And their original plan was to plant some, landscaping and some shrubbery in front, but
thinking that would hide it.
It would still be above what they wanted to do. So the people were upset about it, and myself and Dwayne included. So we met several times. There was a couple of public hearings on it, which we spoke. And right now, the latest that what we've been told is that it's still in court, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in court, because it's gone through land use, and,
Well, yeah, well-
and our land use people have said no.
Right.
to it.
Early in the spring of last year, our planning commission, denied their application. They went on to present it in front of the Department of Public Utility
Right.
Control, and they really said they had no jurisdiction over that matter. And now it's in court. All this time, all this money that they're wasting, they could have moved the tank to begin with, and we wouldn't even be dealing with this.
Well, they wanted it over on Danbury land, so
Right.
that way they're not impacting their...
Connecticut DPUC just came back and said, hey, this is not our ball game. You guys have to settle it one way or the
Between
other.
the two towns.
And their argument really is that they needed the water supply for emergency services, fire department, or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
Which
but
is
it's a
valid.
private company, though, isn't it?
I
Because it's
believe
called
it is.
Eureka.
Yeah, I
If it's
believe
called
it is.
Eureka, it's
Yeah.
not the town of Bethel.
I don't think it's the town of Bethel.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's the name of the land.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know whether it's private company or Bethel would own it or what, but I know DPUC just said, well, no way.
Yeah.
And the worst thing, worst possible case, let's just say if they did win in court, they still have to present it back to the same planning commission, and nothing really has changed.
Right.
It still is a bad idea to put the tank in that particular area, and it really needs to be somewhere else.
All right.
That's the
So
bottom line.
So that's the lowdown on. Well, they're not saying Eureka yet, anyway.
No.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Now there's some discussion on parkland preservation. I guess there's a ad hoc committee that was set up, and you want to give a report on that? On I
on
guess
that
on the parks, or
Were you on that committee?
I was, and what happened is that we've met twice now, and this thing gets complicated, but anyway, the problem that we have, even this last time when we met, we were there an hour and a half, 2 hours, meeting with these people and Corporation Council.
well, what's the lay of the land, so to speak? What are they trying to do? Some people
Well,
trying to come in and
they're
do
trying
something?
to come in and look at overseeing Terrywile,
Yeah.
whereas Terrywile has its own authority
Yeah.
and its own master plan and so on and so on.
Now they want to change that.
They're looking perhaps to change that in the future.
Who is they? The administration, or you don't want to say?
Danbury Land Trust, I believe, might.
Oh, I see.
They might be involved. I'm not sure. But anyway, we still didn't have enough information as far as we were concerned, we being the ad hoc committee. So we just continued again until they came back. Until we needed some legal advice from Corporation Counsel. And he couldn't really supply it that particular night, so we're waiting to come back.
Yeah, I would think that if you have an authority looking that runs that, you have the whatever they call it. What's the name of it? The park authority over there, the Terrywile Park Authority.
Park Authority.
And you want to do something with it. I would think that this is the way to go if you want to give it to a land trust, which is going to say we're going to preserve it and put fences around it, and this is going to be run like a separate.
No.
Yeah.
What happens? I mean, the ad hoc got a little morphed and a little kind of sidetracked.
Yeah.
It started off trying to put together some type of ordinance or language that would protect Terrywile, but in doing so, they kind of pushed it away and started talking about an ordinance that would be all-encompassing for all parks. That's how we got to part of the land preservation.
It wasn't just Terrywile, it was all of the parks.
All the parks, they want to come in and say a chunk of the parks is going to be part of theirs.
Well, no. They just wanted to try to protect it from different types of usage. And one of the proposals that we came up with, at least one of the members of the Corporation Council, was to make it a higher vote in order to change this type of regulation. But we didn't want it to stop there, so Fred and I made sure that they added additional language in with advice from a few of the members in the meeting at the ad hoc, is to cover land use, because if you take Rogers Park, for instance, that started off as a park that was given to us.
Okay.
You get a senior center. We need more senior centers. You get a school. You get a public works building, all inside a park. We need those services, but they shouldn't be inside of a park. So that's what we were concerned with at that ad hoc.
Oh,
We wanted to make sure
there's
that
going to be carve-outs of the land.
We
that
wanted
was
to make sure
intended
that
for
didn't
park
happen.
Only.
Right.
And another thing that has been controversy in the past, if I may interject here,
Sure.
and that is that you have certain people that come in, let's say, with their skidoos and whatever, and they blaze trails for their skidooing all over the park. What do they call snowmobiles and things like that.
ATVs.
Yeah, so that disrupts the use of other citizens of the park. And I don't know if that's been addressed. That was an issue in the past.
Well,
I believe it's been addressed.
But finally, we pretty much went back to the drawing board, and now Corporation Council is going to insert the language that covers use. Because we were at first under the impression where land had to be sold in order to make those types of things, but that's not the case.
Oh, no.
It's a change in usage. So that was our concern. They're back writing new language, and we should be good for the land preservation.
So would it be a portion of the authority? In other words,
No, the authority has nothing to do with this. This is just a city ordinance for parks.
On all land that
all parks in the city.
Once this land goes to park, it can only be used in such a way.
Right.
But it has to have the proper language, and that's what we're
so you can't build a school on it. You can't build whatever.
Because we don't want to see the same thing, happen to Rogers Park that could happen to some of these other places. I mean, like I said, we need more senior housing. We probably need a school. I don't think the Public Works Department should be in the park. That should be somewhere else. But they're there.
Yeah.
And we don't want to see stuff like that happen in the future.
Yeah, encroachment. Well, that's the word, encroachment.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that we have another issue that's been going on for a while, and that is the Danbury Post Office.
Danbury Post Office.
Who wants to give us an update on where the post office is? There's been some stuff in the paper about it,
Danbury Post Office. It's an old building. It's just about 100 years old, if not 100 years old. The building is in pretty bad shape, structure-wise. The roof, they have a lot of problems with the roof. I'm told that they can't even use from the second floor up. They have to stay on that bottom floor where they are. If you read the articles that you see in the paper or on the TV or radio, wherever it may be, the post office, as it stands right now, is in a lot of financial trouble. They lost like $8 billion 2 years ago, $6 billion last year. They're just continually losing money.
Yeah.
So what they're doing, they started to laying some people off, and now they're looking to close post offices. So I guess what they're looking at is the expense that it's costing them to run that building. They own the building, and they've come up with the idea that they need to close the building. We stepped in, we being the council and the city and the mayor, and said, hey, wait a minute. It's really a vital service to the people in the downtown area and the surrounding streets and so on. We really need you to take a look and see what's going on here. There was a public hearing. There were a lot of folks there that spoke their piece and said, hey, the same thing, basically, we need the post office or some form of post office to stay on Main Street.
Right.
So we left the meeting in the hopes that the folks that were there from the Postal Department, there was about 4 or 5 of them, would look at some storefronts. And I was told that night by one of the folks that they have looked at about 4 or 5 different storefronts on Main Street. They are trying to see if they could, perhaps rent one of those storefronts and at least put the boxes, the safe deposit boxes, in, and sell stamps or whatever, and that would really take care of what the needs for downtown. Because the average person who lives downtown doesn't have the car, they can't afford a taxi, they can't afford even a bus to go to.
There's a wonderful facility over there,
Right.
But if you don't have a car,
Right.
you're 3 miles from the center of town,
Right.
and how the heck are you going to get out there?
So they're supposed to come back and let us know what their plans are. I read quite a report as I was speaking to you earlier, and that was on the internet. It was about 9 pages long. I printed it out, and they basically said what I just said. They're in a lot of trouble. One of the things that they mentioned is that, they could have a private company come in, but private companies can go out of business, in 2 weeks after they're open up. So we're hopeful that if they do close the post office down, which very well could happen, they will come up with something on the street and stay there for that.
Have a one-room office or something.
Anything, anything to help out.
Yeah, we're sensitive to their efforts to cut costs, but not to the expense where they eliminate the downtown presence.
Yeah.
So if we can work out something, I think it'd be great for the people of the downtown area.
So that story is going to be an ongoing one for a while.
Yeah, for a while.
Are there any? There's no timetable with
They
3 months.
didn't give us a time at all. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Now there's road condition problems all over the city.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, I've questioned, for example, how come certain roads got paved in a certain area where there weren't any houses or businesses, and other areas like over by the mall, there's ruts in the road. So, but we're now talking about the Fifth Ward, so let's talk about your jumps.
Well, actually, we had a lot of road paving and resurfacing done last year.
Oh, okay.
Mountainville Avenue, Long Ridge.
Lincoln Avenue was totally done.
Lincoln Avenue was a major reconstruction.
But they hadn't been done in years.
Yeah.
So
We're looking at some others right now that hopefully. I have to say that I think the Public Works does a fantastic job.
Sure.
They really do. They're shorthanded, about 6 or 7 people. They did a lot of snow plowing this past winter, and they were out doing the potholes as best they can. They have a time schedule where, and Dwayne and I were just concerned with a couple of spots up in the Long Ridge Road area and West Reading Road, where we've had ongoing problems. And I called Mr. Iadarola, and he gave me an up-to-date. They'll be there in 2 weeks to take care of the sand on the road or whatever it may be. West Reading Road has an area where the trees are so close to the road, the branches come out, and the cars and trucks are hitting them. They're going to be done in the fall like they were last year, because that's when they start cutting them back for the plowing and so on.
We'll see if we can
I
expedite
can't
that
say.
for safety reasons.
I think the Public Works really does a fantastic job. They really do. I don't have any problem with
Well,
it.
when they get done over in the Fifth, send them over in the
I'm going to
Sixth.
send them over there, yeah.
Okay. And you know, what would you like to tell you know, the voters of the Fifth Ward about?
Help.
You're looking for them to you know, tell you about problems or concerns. Any time. Do you have your own personal emails you want to disclose at this point in time?
No, it doesn't bother me.
Sure.
Telephone numbers.
We're always asking residents to, you know, use the resources that are available, and one resource to help get information downtown is to use the 311 system. So from their home phones, just call 311, and they can get in the queue to get, you know, work or concerns looked at. My concern right now is to start to amass a list of emails. So I'm in the process now of collecting emails so that we can begin to develop a newsletter to send out to our Fifth Ward residents. So if anyone is interested and they are listening to the show, they can email me at Dwayne, D-U-A-N-E, the number 82 at AOL.com. And what I'll do is I'll just put that into a, you know, an email database, and I'll try to do as best I can to protect, you know, their email accounts. I'm not going to, you know, sell them to third parties and share them with any others, but I do want to amass an email list to start sending out a newsletter to my constituents. Also, you know, don't be afraid to support us. We're concerned about the voter apathy. You know, people, you know, Visconti wins all the time, Perkins wins all the time, Rotello, Sadi.
So I'm not even going to go out. I'm not going to even go out to vote.
You know,
you need them to go out.
They need to come out and support us, because you know, this is, you know, this election is like any other election. It's problematic. So we need folks to get out there and come out and support our local candidates.
Okay. So you want to repeat your email?
Yeah, Dwayne, D-U-A-N-E, the number 82 at AOL.com.
And is there a telephone number you want to leave?
Yeah, I can use my home number. Area code 203-791-2694.
Okay. Freddie?
Yeah, I think Dwayne summed it up pretty good. My email is Mr. Phone, M-R-P-H-O-N-E, at MSN.com. And phone number you can get me at is 203-744-2311. We are going to try and get a newsletter going. That's why we would like to have you folks that are out there listening, or tell your friends to call us or send us an email with your email, and we'll get a newsletter out and let you know where we're coming from, what's going on. Use the 311 system for if you need things, for like we were talking a little while ago. It works great. And don't be afraid to call us. That's why we're there. That's why we sit in the council and help folks out. We don't have a problem doing that.
And your roads are in pretty good shape. If anybody's got a complaint,
No.
use the
The roads are in good shape.
The roads are in good shape. I'll probably take some heat for saying that, but
Okay.
they are
What people have to remember,
well,
too,
you'll hear about that road they missed.
yeah, I'm sure I will.
what people have to remember also is that we were very concerned about budgets, so we cut back on a lot of overtime. I mean, you can't have it both ways. If you scale back on overtime, it takes longer to get to different jobs. So we need to make sure that folks are sensitive to that also.
Okay. You know, is there, let's see, we still have a couple of minutes. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss, or how about the state of the city in general? Any thoughts on that? I know you've been on a lot of committees because of your experience.
He's a committee
guy.
Either ad hoc, I'm on more task force than you can possibly shake a stick at.
Yeah.
The school, this and that, everything. But I enjoy it. I want the folks to understand this is a tough economic situation. It's not just Danbury, it's not Bethel, it's the entire
all over.
country.
Yeah.
And the one thing that we profess, and we try and hold by this, if we don't have the money, we just can't spend it because we don't know what's coming from the feds, we don't know what's coming from the states, so we have to draw a line. I don't like it any more than anybody else that sits in that council or the mayor and have to make that decision. But we have to make them, and we do the best we can.
Right. You know, and that's the same whether it's road work,
Teachers, schools,
everything.
everything. You know.
That's probably been one of your biggest controversies, right?
Terrible. I'm a big education guy, and boy, when I have to say this is what we got, you got to live with it. That's murder. That's tough. But, you know, that's what we have to do.
You know, how many teachers were laid off and all that. You know, you hear about that in the streets. You know,
Yeah.
"Oh, why are they laying them off? Well, because we don't have the money to raise it. Can't be raising taxes when, you know, people are like this.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm not sure how many we laid off, but budgets are getting tighter and tighter. I mean, we've been keeping that Board of Ed budget pretty much on the flat side. It's amazing what they can do with those funds.
Yeah. And it's tougher and tougher to make the ends meet, you know.
Yep.
So one more time, with 30 seconds to go, your telephone numbers and your emails, and then we're done.
All right.
Okay.
Dwayne, 82, D-U-A-N-E, the number 82, at AOL.com, and my phone number for people wishing to give me a call, area code 203-791-2694.
And Freddie?
Mr. Phone at MSN.com, 203-744-2311.
Okay. I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us, John.
Thank you, John. Thank you for
You're
having us.
welcome. And I want to thank the viewers for tuning in to Community Forum. Tune in next week, same time, same station, and we'll have an interesting program at that point. Good night for now, and see you then.